Hello, you are tuning in to the Capsule in Conversation podcast dedicated to women and their well-being. I'm Natalie Anderson, and today I'm joined by singer, actress and entrepreneur Suzanne Shaw to talk all about the long road to happiness and success. So sit back, relax and get ready to join us in our conversation. Hello all, thank you so much for joining us today for the last episode of this season. Can you believe it? Where on earth has the time gone? But waving us off in style is a gorgeous lady who I am thrilled to see. She is a Capsule second timer, as well as being one of our most notable stars of stage, screen and music. She's also the founder of the Happy Health Club platform, and she is passionate about helping people find their happiness through sobriety, exercise and diet. It is an absolute joy to welcome her today. She's an absolute ray of sunshine, and she is the gorgeous Suzanne Shaw.
Oh, thank you, Natalie. That was lovely.
Oh, well, how are you doing?
I'm all right now. Wasn't a few weeks ago. My toenails are recovering. I lost a few along the way on the 4 ultras in 4 days. But yeah, I'm just kind of coming out of basically I've spent weeks just eating and sleeping and taping up my feet and recovering. So I'm feeling the groove back now.
Because I mean that is a massive feat. And I mean, would you have even thought that you could do that like 2 years ago when you were here last?
No, I would have laughed you out of the pub. I can't believe I've done it. In fact, I've still not had, normally when you do like a marathon or even an ultra marathon, you have this major high and then you have what they call the blues, the marathon blues. I have not experienced either. So I think I'm in denial that I actually did it. I must have gone to a place in my head where I just zoned out and kind of, I suppose, made myself feel like it wasn't actually happening, because that's how it feels. It feels like it was a dream. It doesn't feel like it's reality. If we had not have got social media and mobile phones that take pictures and videos, I would have said to you it was a dream, only because we had the evidence that it feels real. So yeah, that's how it is right now.
It's funny though, isn't it? Like I did a huge challenge, nothing as big as that, but we did we walked like 50 kilometers and we did the Brecon Beacons.
Yeah.
And for 2 days afterwards, my hips were so bad and I was nearly crying. And then a few days after that, like you say, it was like, did it happen?
Yeah.
Did it really, really happen? And I think I suppose you're like, the pair of us are very similar, that we've kind of grown up with dancing and singing and acting and pushing yourself and going. And you kind of get into that mentality. So this is actually quite a shock to our system, because we're not sports people. We've not been trained in that capacity.
No.
But like I said, this journey that you've been on since I last saw you, if we go back to when you were last here with me, I think you were about 6 months into your sobriety journey, and you were just thinking about doing the Happy Health Club. Yeah. And, we had the pandemic. Fast forward to 2 years later.
I know.
I mean, just tell me about everything that's happening now.
Where do I start? Well, I know I do know where I can start. I quit drinking and life just got better. And taking you back to 2019, I think I'd hit my rock bottom. And I just got to a point where my mental health was at its all-time low, that my feelings and my thoughts and my anxiety and my depression were taking me to a very dark place. And I knew that I had to do something about it. I think I was waiting for the moment where someone would come and save me. I was waiting for the job, the holiday, the night out with the friends, the partner, just somebody to come along and help me find my happiness. And I think because I'd had such a great height of fame at such a young age, it was very hard to match that. So the jobs were fantastic, but it was chasing that addiction of the notoriety through my career, and that, I was defining myself through my next gig. I was defining myself through my partner, my friends, my, the clothes that I was wearing, everything I was turning to. I wasn't finding my happiness, and I realized I had to do some fixing internally. I had to kind of strip myself bare, get back to basics, and start putting the work in if I was going to have any chance of improving my mental health. And that had to come with quitting drinking. I had to remove that from my life because that was exasperating my anxiety and my depression. And so at the start of 2020, I kind of stepped into it by doing this thing called 1 year no beer, where I thought I'd give myself a year. I'd taken breaks before from alcohol, like a month, 2 months, nearly 3 months at one point, and felt amazing from it. And I thought, if I announce that I'm doing 1 year no beer, I can tell my friends and family, they can support me. It's not forever in my mind, although I knew desperately I wanted it to be my life, to live a sober life. But it just felt easier to kind of take that on. But it was longer than I'd ever done before. So yeah, at the start of 2020, I committed to quitting alcohol, which I did, and I've never looked back.
And you know what? You're so glowing and like you just look so refreshed and beautiful and
Thank you.
energized. And, it's having that accountability, isn't it? Putting it out there and saying, right, boom, there it is. And I know when we spoke last, those beginning months, where you were going to social occasions and that was a bit tricky. But I think the conversation around alcohol has completely changed anyway. It's very much moving towards a more mindful drinking approach, people being much more sober curious. So there's less stigma attached to the, if you don't drink, you're boring. Which, I remember we had that chat of you going, will I still have personality? Will I be able to be around people? But like you say, are you finding that yourself, that actually things are changing quite quickly?
Oh, since I've quit drinking 3.5 years ago, I've seen the movement go from 0 to 10. Like, you are seeing so many people coming forward, making it a lifestyle choice. Back in the day, even 3 years ago, it was very much you quit drinking because you had a problem. And although I had an unhealthy relationship towards alcohol, I didn't identify as an addict. I'm sure possibly at one point, if I'd continued down the line that I was going, I might have ended up in addiction. But I was very much a grey area drinker where I could take big breaks from alcohol and feel good. There were occasions when I could moderate, but that was very few and far between. When I had a drink, it was a way of suppressing my anxiety, my depression. So I drink it again and drink it again until I went to sleep at night. And so seeing this movement now where people are taking that as a lifestyle choice is amazing. There's more alcohol-free beverages on the market. There are more alcohol-free events. There are more people talking about it online and doing courses and coaching people in alcohol-free living. And it's wonderful because I think it is the future. I think it's the way we're going. Smoking many years ago, the doctors would recommend it for stress relief. And it seems insane that they did that.
Well, people still saying, you can have a glass of red wine for your heart and everything.
Oh, I know. One glass of red wine you can have. It's good for it's got antioxidants in it. It helps your heart. It helps your stress levels. But the reality is, so does blueberries. And that's actually way better. You're not going to get the hangover with it.
Well, this is it. And the thing is as well, is, like we're talking about kind of the sober movement. We've done quite a lot of work with Harrogate Springwater about mindful drinking. And I think we came from a generation which was very much kind of the ladette culture, and it was kind of the girls can drink as much as the boys, and we had Millie Gooch on last series about she was saying the way that drinking was marketed at women and it was meant to be empowering, and actually it is absolutely not that. It's very disempowering for a lot of people. And I know that you're not like necessarily kind of saying, oh, don't anybody drink ever, because for some people they can manage it better than others. I think, probably us too with our jobs. It's a very kind of social situation when you're in entertainment. And that's another thing, is that kind of choosing to kind of step back a bit from that lifestyle as well, and really put all of your efforts and work into building the Happy Health Club, which is so unbelievably brilliant and successful. And you must be so proud of that.
I am. And you're right. It's about, for me, particularly the Happy Health Club, It's about holding people's hands to the life they want,
Mm-hmm.
not the life I want them to have, the life that they want to have. You know, do they want to have more nutritious meals and eat healthier? Do they want to exercise more, move more? We don't even say exercise, we say move more. Do you want to take a break from alcohol? And if that is what you want, if that's the lifestyle you want to lead, this wellness, this whole well-being lifestyle where you can become more mindful about drinking, become more mindful about what you're eating, and not get dragged along with society that are throwing fast food in your face and the parties and the events and the champagne and, you know, marketing it in that way where they tell you it's great and it's exciting and it's fun, but they're not holding your hand when you're feeling lonely and down in the dumps because you're on a sugar crash, or, you know, you're not feeling great because you're not moving enough. So I think for me, you know, it is all about helping people live the happy, healthier lifestyle they want, because we're all so different and everything we do is so, how we feel is so different from one another. You know, different things help different people. And for me, yeah, it is all about guiding people and just kind of giving them the experts that I've met along the way who I think are amazing and brilliant. And, you know, whether that is somebody who's talking about breath work or hormone imbalances, or, you know, women's hormones, or they're talking about meditation or doing yoga or doing a fitness class, or, you know, running or plant-based eating, or, you know, just all of these wonderful things that we can learn and live that fully nourished life. That's what I wanted to give people.
And do you think that where you're at now, at this point in your life, like the people that you've met are kind of more, you can be your really true, authentic self with them.
Yeah.
Like you found a community that actually, when you look back at the lifestyle that you were leading before, and, you know, like I said, both of us have been in the entertainment industry for a very, very long time.
Yeah.
And it is a very cutthroat place to be. And can be quite a scary place to be, which I do think is why lots of people turn to, you know, substances or drinking or, you know, excess, because the nerves, the anxiety, the performance, everything, you're never kind of off.
No, you're always switched on.
Yeah, whereas the community that you've built, do you feel now like actually this is who you really kind of are?
Yeah, I think it's a funny one, really. I think the entertainment industry for so long, you're in competition. And as much as it can be healthy competition, it can also be unhealthy competition. And I think it breeds a lot of insecurity. So therefore, when insecurity is bred, you lose authenticity because people are masking how they're feeling or who they are. And for me, I was desperate to live authentically, to be true to myself and to kind of take the mask off. And that was part of this journey, was to leave my ego behind. You know, I had to leave my ego at the door because it was getting in my way every single day of my life. And that's what I've been working on. So taking the alcohol helps me remove the ego, removing that from my life. Eating better, moving more, you know, I'm able to kind of get to an authentic place and to sit and have conversations that aren't about top trumping each other on what job you're doing next and who's making more money and what but that's how it was for so long, and it wasn't me, and I didn't know why I couldn't quite fit in to a room of amazing people who were so colourful and magical and wonderful, but at the same time it felt so unauthentic to me, and I had to remove myself away from that and try my best now to try and live as authentically as possible.
And the people that you see, you know, in your community that are kind of signing up to be part of the Happy Health Club, because it's about 3 pillars, isn't it? It's kind of like movement, eating plant-based, and being sober curious. What are the things that you find that they're coming to you for?
I've evolved the Happy Health Club with what the community wants. And I had these 3 pillars for so long: the eat plants, try sober, get fit. But it felt very regimented. And in actual fact, it's a wellness place. It's a place for us to explore wellness. And now, yes, of course, we have lots of plant-based nutrition in there, and we talk about the benefits of going on a plant-based diet. But it doesn't mean you have to be vegan to be part of it. We just give you recipes full of nutritious whole foods. If you wanted to add meat, then you can add meat. If you wanted to add fish, you can add fish. You know, that is completely down to you living your happy, healthy life. We just want to introduce as many fruits, veg, whole foods into your diet so you have got that variety, which is extremely good for your health. The same with movement. You know, we just want you to move more, and it doesn't have to look like a HIIT workout. It doesn't have to look like, you know, running a PB at a 5K or, you know, doing a major weight session. It might be just dancing around your front room and, you know, we dance together. And the same with going alcohol free. It doesn't mean you have to go sober and look at a life completely in sobriety. It just means that you can maybe take a break or maybe mindful drink. Every Monday we have our sober sessions. And in there, we have people who are sober curious who have not been able to take that step, but they're waiting for the right time where they'll go, okay, I'm going to live this sober life. And they might have taken a dry January, or they might just do the week here or a week there. But it's about that communication and being around people who encourage it rather than put it down because it's not cool, and actually have fun, let go. You know, all of these things we have said for so long about how living cool should look, and that's to go and not look after yourself. Basically, you don't move. Oh, what you exercising for? Oh, why are you doing that? Oh, it's so annoying. You know, all these things we say. You know, why are you eating that? Oh, just have a burger.
Yeah, it's that terrible thing,
just
isn't it?
Get drunk, get wasted.
Just like, oh, go on. And I often find like with that, you know, especially if you're the one saying, oh, I don't want to drink too much, or you know, it's like, oh, what's up with you? Oh, you're okay. And actually, sometimes I think that's a bit of a projection. Yeah. When people actually think, oh, I really want to do that, but I feel bad because you're making them feel bad.
Do you know, honestly, Natalie, more people have been worried about my health since going plant-based and sober and taking up running than they ever were before. Honestly, you know, I was eating doner kebab, drinking pints, necking wine, not moving much. Not one person said, are you getting a good nutrition? Are you all right? Are you not lacking in nutrition? Are you sure that running's good for you? Yeah, all that running you're doing must. But before, you know, I was so miserable and unhappy and in like my depths of depression. But yeah, nobody picked up the phone and asked if I was all right, lacking in nutrients, which I was massively because I didn't have a vegetable in my diet. And that's why I was feeling so groggy and down and low.
But that's the thing, isn't it, with people kind of like you say, it's difficult because people want to do it and they want to take that first step. And it's easier sometimes, I think, for people to go, oh, no, you be on my side, you be in my camp. And then when you're holding up a mirror, it can be a bit uncomfortable for some people. Yeah. And like what you were saying about, you know, evolving the Happy Health Club to kind of meet your community's needs. Yeah. Because I was going to ask you about that, because sometimes making those huge lifestyle changes can be massively overwhelming. Yeah, they can. To the point where people don't want to do it. They go, I can't do that, so I'm not doing it. Yeah. Even dry January, I'm not doing it. I can't. But actually those tiny steps become big steps over time. They do. And, you know, learning about your business as an entrepreneur, what has that been like? You know, having to listen to your community, your clients, your customers. Yeah,
it's been a real eye-opener. And just going back to that point you made of that feeling so overwhelmed with what you have in front of you or the changes you want to make, the biggest lesson I've learned is to drop the perfection. Yeah. Whether that's in business, within, you know, the way I eat, the movement, you know, if I'm able to just prioritize what I need to for that day, when it comes down to like my well-being, my health, I don't look at it individually of like how I've got to eat better and how much water I've got to drink and how much exercise I've got to do in the day. I literally, the thing that I say to myself daily is just prioritize your well-being. Just do the best you can. You've got one job, and that is to prioritize your well-being. And the same with like the work, just get your list done. Even if it doesn't take you today, it takes you a month. Get this to-do list done and just chip away. Slow it down, slow the pace down, drop the perfection, because it doesn't all have to be done overnight. And I think this whole world we live in now, the 6-pack in 6 weeks, the lose 7 pounds in 7 days,
It's so
the
fast.
set a business up in 24 hours and you can be so successful within 3 months, you can earn this. It's all so fast, it's all so overwhelming, and it's not real. It doesn't exist, it's not realistic, and that's where you end up failing because it can't be done. Then you start to self-sabotage. And when you start to self-sabotage, you turn to the drink, you turn to the cakes, because that's the easiest thing to do to get that quick dopamine hit, to feel happy, but then you're left very quickly feeling deflated again. So I just say drop the perfection, slow down the pace, and it'll come when it needs to come.
Slowing down is such a big thing. We were just talking about that
Yeah.
before we started recording of, oh my God, you have to be on social media and the comparison, and are they doing this and should we be doing that? And it's like, and before you know it, you're like, oh my God. And you have to kind of bring yourself back down. And I think, the world does need to slow down, but we're in charge of that. We actually do have the power. We have the power to say, no, I'm not doing it. And both you and I, we work in the wellness area and with mental health and with women's health, and we both just said you have to practice what you preach.
You do.
You have to put the boundaries in place, healthy boundaries, which is what we talk about. You have to prioritize your well-being to have any form of success. You can't be successful if at the end you're burnt out, because that defeats the purpose, doesn't it? And so you have to be kind of a product of what you're talking to your audience about. Just like it's very apparent how much running you do, the fact that you do eat really, really well, you're not drinking, so you can be genuinely authentic when you're talking about that to your audience. And it is the same thing with prioritizing our mental health and our time. Taking that foot off the gas.
It is.
But it's hard when you've been conditioned, like many of us have, to be go, 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 go.
Yeah, exactly. And I think it's such a good point, because you're on fast pace, and there's like, when I quit drinking, I gained a lot of space in my life, so therefore I filled it as part of distraction. But then I burnt out really quickly. I think it was last year. I got quite poorly because I'd overdone it. And she says, and then she does 4 ultramarathons in 4 days.
Hold on a minute.
But I have learnt my lesson, and that's because I was trying to do everything at once. Very much my year has been training, eating, which was a very fun game, and filming the documentary for the 4 ultras in 4 days. So I very much compartmentalized myself to that one job, to show up and do that. And it's because it was very hard, and I had no capacity to be able to show up and do anything else apart from being a mum. And so things had to take a little bit of a back seat. So the Happy Health Club, I had the experts pick up on more things to be able to keep that moving forward. And I had to drop my podcast for a little while and take a bigger break in between my seasons. And so I've learnt that actually by applying the things to the separate subjects individually and showing up just fully for those has helped me. That has been really part of me slowing things down, me being able to put those boundaries up, and me just being able to concentrate on the one thing rather than multitasking. And so that's what I had to do, because it was all getting too much at one point.
But don't you think as well that part of that is because you had the work with your ego to put that to the back and kind of go, if it takes me an extra 3 months before I come back to my podcast, that's all right.
That's okay.
But whereas before, an ego, because I've had that feeling where the ego is going, no, but you should be doing this. What will everybody else think?
Did they think they failed? Did they think it was a massive flop?
Whereas you've got to go, actually, who cares? Like, you have to prioritise your well-being, your wellness, and make the right decisions for you, and they'll be the best decisions in the end, because you're going to have more energy.
Exactly, and I couldn't agree more. And I did. Again, it's about parking the ego, and being okay with just saying it's going to have to just take a back seat for now, because I am going to burn out, and that is not cool. That is not cool for my family. It's not good for me, and it's certainly not practicing what I preach. So I definitely had to learn that it doesn't matter if that just has to wait. And all of the things I want to do, and the good thing is I love it all, and I can't wait to get to it, but just one thing at a time. I set one intention this year, and that was just to accept where I was, and to accept everything, not accept everything that comes my way, accept it how it turns up and shows up for me. And kind of setting that intention has really helped me slow the pace and drop the perfection. This idea of my perfection, constantly beating myself if something wasn't quite right. I'm just like, it's fine. It is good. I am here. It's enough. I am enough. This is enough. And this is where I am today. And I don't have to be making multi-million pounds. I don't have to be doing all of the things. It doesn't have to have 1 million, sales like I did when I, did hearsay. My success was so distorted from being such a young age and selling 1.2 million records, thinking, oh, I've got to have 1.2 million hits on Facebook or Instagram or YouTube. That's how it should look. That's success. And it doesn't matter if one person is turning up to my stuff and is feeling inspired and motivated by it, then that's success, and that's okay. And that's, I think, what it's about.
And that's what true happiness is. I've had this very similar thought myself of, what does success look like? What does it look like? And actually success, and I think actually the generation after us have got a very different take on it. They see a lot more of the time kind of work-life balance as being successful, more people quiet quitting and kind of, stepping back from things and going, actually, why would I try and kill myself to earn X, Y, and Z, millions when I'm not going to see my family, or actually I just want to hop on a plane and go to so-and-so. And that's what success looks like for a lot more people now, which that's not what we were brought up on, is it really?
No, I know. I'm so glad you brought this up, because it's such a big subject. I for so many years was chasing and fighting the success through my career because I thought that defined me as a person. Comparison was a thief of joy, particularly being in the entertainment industry. And now my life is successful through looking after myself and looking after my family. That's where I'm finding a hell of a lot of success from, because I'm putting the work in, and that's important to me. My success is there, and if it comes through my job, and however that shows up and however that looks like, then that's fantastic. But it had to, that's what I meant earlier by stripping it all back, starting again, because at home life was very unsuccessful with my well-being, and it was starting to affect my family, and that had to change. And so leaving the success of my job behind was really important, and I had to go back to basics and start again.
And that's kind of like, that's just been much cry. But that's the truth of it, though, isn't it? It's like, it starts at home. It starts in your house. It starts the way that you parent your children, the way that you are with your partner. That is really, we saw that in the pandemic. People lost so much. They lost family members. They lost jobs. They lost all kinds of different things. And they had to really go back to looking at, what makes me happy on a morning? When I wake up, if my family's all right, 9 times out of 10, you're like, oh, everything's okay, and we'll find a way to work, and we'll find a way to kind of maneuver through the world, or find what your purpose is, because your purpose might change. And, since you've kind of hit your 40s, do you think that as well has been a massive factor in the way that you reflect on life and think about life?
Yeah, very much so. I look back often now and see how I used to do things and how I'm doing things differently now, and really, really proud of myself for making changes. And it wasn't all bad. So I've got some wonderful memories, and I love my job in the entertainment industry. It's great fun. And maybe at some point I'll full-time return back to that. But right now, for me, it's just all been a part of realizing that the stuff that I accumulated with the job, I can't take it with me when I die. But what I can do is, have a purpose, do some good in the world, and be there for my family. And that is what's really important to me. And I had to find the simplicity in life and the wow moments of having a coffee with my partner when the sun was rising in the pandemic. I will never forget the wow moments of just being there with my children, telling them it's going to be okay and everything's going to be fun and fine and back to normal again. seeing my kids grow and evolve and change, and Corey start driving, and him completing his exams and going, oh my God, I actually raised a child and he stayed alive. He's still alive.
You're
and he's
here.
doing
Oh
stuff.
my God, you're an adult.
I did that. I just had to find the greatness in the simple.
And do you think now, like you're saying, Corey is 18,
Yeah.
and it's like, oh my goodness me, you know, how did you get to be a full adult? But
I know.
and obviously you've got Rafferty coming next.
Yeah.
Do you feel kind of better equipped now, like going through it a second time, or is it different, or you know, what's that whole thing like?
Do you know what? If I'm going to be real, this feels like a therapy session. Natalie, if I'm going to be completely honest, there are times, God, I do not get it perfect at all, and I certainly didn't in the past. And like, you know, I look back and I thought I was a very different parent to Corey. I was at a very different age. I was really young when I had him. I was 24. I was 23 when I was pregnant, 24 when I had him. And, you know, that's young.
Yeah.
That is young these days.
Yeah.
And I was running around in the dark blindfolded most of the time. Completely lost all my senses of like, how am I going to raise this child? I don't know what I'm doing. Can barely keep myself alive. And I did it, and I scrambled around, and there was, you know, breakups, and there were divorces, and there, you know, was moving around the country. He had different nannies at different jobs that I do. And life was colourful. It was very colourful. He grew up in dressing rooms. You know, when he was a year old, he was on the road with me for 18 months in the Rocky Horror Show. So he was around men in suspenders and high heels. You know, his life was colourful. And it was great, and it was different to what it is with Rafi. Rafi, it is, you know, it's very in one place. You know, we are very kind of 9-to-5 parents now. You know, we're able to do the school runs. I'm not away as much. You know, he's not in the dressing room with me. And it's very different, and maybe, you know, when they're older, they'll have a conversation about how different their upbringing was with the same parent. And I don't know how that's going to pan out, whether Corey's going to have a huge therapy bill or whether Rafi will, you know, who knows?
Well, you don't know, do you? Because you think you're doing the best no matter what the situation is. You do the best for the situation. And, you know, it's like, I think this with Fred quite a lot. I'm like, he's got everything that I never had. Yeah. But at the same time, I'm like, but does he have the same drive? Will he be able to, you know, how is he going to maneuver in the world because he's had everything done for him? And, you know, he's in this little bubble. So is that going to be bad? Yeah. You just never know, do you? You have no idea.
They don't come with that manual. And, you know, even the manual that your parents taught you isn't always the right one, you know? And I think for me, it's about learning on the job. It's doing the best I can and giving space to your kids for them to be able to be heard, touched, loved. And that's all I can do, and make sure they've got a roof over their head and food on the table to the best of my ability. And that's it.
That's
really.
it, isn't it? I mean, do you feel prepared though for Corey going out into the world?
No. No, you didn't. I asked him to introduce himself to the washing machine the other day, because it was like,
how old is he?
Looking at the buttons, and I was like, mate, introduce yourself to it, because when you're in the big world, you're gonna have to know how to use it. Which brings me back to remembering when I moved into the pop star's house, and nobody knew how to use the washing machine apart from myself. But that was because my parents had split up just like a few years prior to that, and my mum said the same to me. She went, "You're gonna have to do that now, because you know I can't do the work, do it
all,
like, you know, sort everything out." So so he is. I don't know. I think, you know, like I did, you know, it's all going to come really easy to you, but you've got to work hard. There's going to be some reality. You've got to let them run into the brick walls, I think. I remember Michelle Obama saying this. She said about her kids, she said she's watching them and she's seeing them, and there's a massive brick wall in the way, and she said, I'm just watching them run right into it, but I've just got to keep my mouth shut and just let them do it.
And it's hard, isn't it? You're like,
no.
But you know you can't save them all the time, and you can't wrap them in cotton wool and things, and it is so difficult. But like you say, you do have to kind of let them run into it, and you know, hope for the best and hope that you've equipped them as well as possible.
I know.
You mentioned the documentary, you know, that you've been making, and I was really intrigued about it, and I was like, oh, I want to know more about this, because you also interviewed some of your ex-colleagues as well for the documentary. So just explain to me kind of the premise of it.
So it's a mental health documentary, but we do this challenge, this ultra challenge around it. So the thing that helps my mental health is running. It's the thing that I go to. Obviously, I there's lots of other things that I do. I've got a big toolbox now that are full of tools that I've kind of gathered along the way that help my mental well-being. But running is the biggest one. So if I'm feeling like my mind chatter's getting a little bit chaotic, I get my running shoes on and I go for a run. And that run could be 5 miles or it could be 50 miles, depending on how I feel on the day. I love clearing the headspace. So we explore what is it that people do to improve their mental health. We explore the subject in real depth. We speak to experts about mental health, about the 1 in 4 crisis that we face, with 1 in 4 people experience mental health problems every year. And why this is so big. And actually, as we're talking to all of these different experts, I think all of them said they think it's more than 1 in 4.
Yeah.
Which I believe too. I think all of us in some capacity will struggle at some point with our mental health. It's just whether we get to that trauma or not. And so we explore it with the experts. We then go and visit different people about the thing that they swear by. So my thing's the running, and so we go and visit lots of different people. We interviewed Martin Ford, who is a weightlifter but a movie star as well. Yeah. So we did some weightlifting with Martin Ford, which was really difficult and really eye-opening as well. I couldn't believe actually how much I got from weightlifting.
Well, it's funny because my husband is a PT, and when I do weights with him and he makes me lift really heavy, funnily enough, even though I find it really hard in the moment, afterwards, it does have a chemical kind of impact on you.
I was just blown away for days. I was like, yes, whoa. I don't know, it must have been like a real kick to the testosterone that I needed. It was probably just lacking a little bit of testosterone. But yeah, it made me feel really kind of driven and motivated and really on a great high. So that was a great experience. We then went and did ecstatic dance with Louisa Bradshaw White.
Amazing.
Louisa played Tina Carter in EastEnders, Danny Dyer's sister. And so Louisa and I are really good mates. And I used to go to her, well, I still go to her ecstatic dance classes, but I just wanted to kind of film it and show how amazing it is. So you have this cacao, there's a cacao ceremony where you drink the chocolate cacao, the plant, and then you dance for an hour and a half, and you go, and she does this amazing set list. It's incredible. And so we talked to her and we filmed that with her community. I did breath work with Anna Goff. Anna Goff is she's a breath work and cold water therapy practitioner. So she guided us through some breath work, and then we went into the cold and then into more breath work. She was brilliant as well. So much fun that was. And then I did meditation with Danny. So my old bandmate, he nearly became a monk, did Danny, after Hearsay.
Wow.
Nearly left life behind him and went off to be a monk. But he is very big into his meditation and has been, he's so qualified in it. He's been doing it for years. So we did meditation with Danny, and that was brilliant as well.
How was that for you too? To when you look back on your life and you look back at where you were 20 years ago, kind of starting with Hearsay and everything else, and that kind of, we said at the beginning, kind of the roller coaster, the circus, to where you're both at now. What was that conversation like?
Well, it's funny because the conversations we had before were very formatted. We did the interview, then we would try the wellbeing activity. This one was really difficult. It was almost like it was a standalone documentary in itself, because we had a lot to talk about. Yeah. So we would do probably about 2-3 hours max with the other experts. This, honestly, we lasted way over 4 hours, 5 hours we were there with Danny. And we were just talking about the experience. So it was very different. It was a very different dynamic and setup to what I'd done before, because it was basically us going back to where it all started. Our journey why we found ourselves where we are, why we found these different activities, and the fact that both Danny and I are plant-based and sober and are practicing wellbeing daily is crazy. From us both being smoking, kebab eating drinkers in a pop band. And it's crazy how we're here.
And you must have like unpacked so much within that actually, did it inspire you to think, I wonder if there's any more to kind of revisit with this, in terms of, you know, whether there's other people that have had a similar experience to you?
I think,
you know, would you like to do that in terms of documentary making?
Yeah, I mean, I mean, for me, that's a real big passion of mine, is documentary making, is exploring subjects that I'm really thoroughly immerse myself with. I love it. But in terms of Danny and I honestly, there was so much. Even the director said, how are we going to sit down and get through this and edit? They were like, he was just like, I just don't even know where to start. We're actually doing it next week. And that day in itself, I'm just like, I don't know. There was so much that I think almost we have to revisit that at some point and do like a separate, like you say, a separate alone documentary about it. It'd be brilliant to interview all the people who've been through Pop Idol, X Factor, all of these shows. And
well, it's funny because I did an interview yesterday and somebody brought up Pop Idol.
Oh, did they?
And I was like, God, that's 21 years ago now. So obviously hearsay must have been like 22.
Yeah, I forget you did Pop Idol.
Yeah, well, this is the thing. Is like those shows back in the 2000s, the very early 2000s, were. It was different, wasn't it? It was, nobody knew what to expect. None of us really knew what was going on. It was, we'd not seen that kind of thing before. And we were like the first lot where even ITV2 wasn't a thing.
Yeah, no,
it had only
mad,
just started kind of when Pop Idol, I think, came out. And social media didn't exist.
Yeah.
So that fame, especially that you guys had, was incredible. And to be, you know, such hugely recognized people immediately, and then, like you said, to have had that journey, like you and Danny and all of you together actually, and it's been the same for Will and for Gareth, and whereas like the people that are kind of coming out of BGT and X Factor now, they're a lot more prepared, I think. They're more prepped for than what us lot were.
I know. The only way I can describe it, and it's not very articulate at all, back in the day they threw a load of shit at the wall to see what stuck. And then it worked. And then now it's like they know the format, they know the model, they know it so well, they know how to churn it out. It's a TV show. If the person happens to have great success off the back of it, then they will really nurture them and build that. If it doesn't happen in 5 minutes, then unfortunately that person has to go back to their day job. And that's the way it seems to have been working. Again, it's that whole, if it doesn't work in 5 minutes. And that's what I noticed, I think, kind of going through this journey. If I go back to that overnight fame, I'd started dancing at the age of 3. And I slowly, gradually built it up. I got a bit of work here and there professionally. And then my big overnight success was with Hearsay, and that was so fast, but it didn't last. And it's funny when something happens so quickly, unless you have the ability to build on that and grow with it and just realize that actually from going up here you're going to come down to go back up again, and you can have that longevity with it. It's very hard. I think it's difficult to get things quickly to expect it to last. Yeah. I think the more foundations you have in place, the more it's going to last, the longer that experience is going to be for you, and the more you can grow and build on that.
I completely agree with you. Putting the foundations in. It's like when you're training, you know, when you are training, you are dedicated to it every day. Yeah. You show up every day, and that's the reason that you can go into an audition room is because you've put all those foundations in place. But then learning how to navigate a career is very different to kind of just being like, bang, out you go. There you are. You've got to take it all in. And I think with young people now, especially in the entertainment industry, it's really important actually that they do get that understanding of overnight success is difficult to maintain. You've got to kind of build a toolkit in other areas, find other things that you enjoy, you know, look at what other things give you creativity or
Yeah.
like, you know, make you feel inspired and passionate?
Yeah.
And like yourself, you know, you've gone out there and you're so inspired and passionate about mental health and people and building
Yeah.
community, and you're running. I mean, you're speaking at so many events at the minute, and, you know, public speaking. And so it's a different version of what you were doing before.
It's interesting, really, because I love the public speaking part. And actually it's taken me a long time to get good at it, because I've not been hiding behind a script. It's my story. So part of me has wanted to go out there and be authentic, but you still have to put on a show.
Yeah.
So I can go out and be authentic and I'm having a conversation, but it's different to having that chat and being authentic on social media or within a community. I have to take part of my old job and have a persona, you know, like Beyonce says she has Sasha, doesn't she? You know, you have to have. So at a speaking gig, you know, if you've got a big audience as well, I have to find the old job and the new job and merge them together and create a show out of it. So I've got those foundations, which was great. But yeah, going back to it, if I hadn't had done all of that training, if I'd have just rocked up because I could sing a bit at this at the Pop Stars audition, there is no way I would have been able to sustain anything. I would have just had to go back to Manchester.
Yeah.
But I'd done years of training in musical theatre
And auditions,
and
and you know
acting,
it doesn't
and
always work out.
Yeah, and so I had to leave the singing part, the pop star part behind, but I could go into musical theatre and I was happy with that. And we did Emmerdale together, and, you know, it was great that I still had that to go into. But with this, it's very different. This is why, for me, it's important it slowly happens and we build it one step at a time. And because it's new, and it's new to me, and I've just been doing like my diploma in life coaching, and now I want to go into and deep dive into positive psychology a little bit more and do more degrees and diplomas. And so I want to build it slowly.
But it's an exciting time for you, though. Such an exciting time. And, you know, we talked very briefly before we kind of, again, started recording about, I was asking you, you know, in terms of entertainment, kind of where are you at now? And what is that, an itch that you are scratching? Or is it something that you think, actually, I'm just going to pop it to bed for a little bit whilst I nurture this part? Like you say, doing one thing at a time. Yeah. But I don't think it'd ever leave. But kind of where are you at right now with it?
I think right now, today, it's hard. It's hard because it's been such a big part of my life. I never thought I would do anything different apart from be on a stage and sing and dance and act. If you'd have told me at the age of 3 that I wouldn't do anything, that I would do something different to that, I probably would have just cried and cried and cried, because that was my life and that's what I wished for. I remember somebody saying to me, but what if it doesn't happen? I was like, no, it will. There is just no option. This is what I live for. But when I got famous, it was less about the singing, dancing and acting, and it was dodging bullets, and it was trying to navigate fame, and that was hard, and that I didn't expect to impact me the way it did on my mental health. And so what ended up being 70 to potentially 80% of the job being kind of navigating fame and navigating the industry through competition became so much less about what I just loved doing, which was singing, dancing and acting. And in the end, it wasn't enough of singing, dancing and acting for me to stay there. So that's when I had to kind of strip it all back and get back to kind of looking after me and my mental health. And now I've kind of gone down this route, which is, I've always loved the subject of wellness. I've always been intrigued by it. As much as I've not lived by it, I've always been intrigued by it. I've always loved fitness. And so now it's just about me enjoying exploring it and really deep diving into it, by at the same time taking what I know from the entertainment world and applying it into my job today. And that's documentary making, it's the motivational speaking, and it's also setting up a brand that is the Happy Health Club. For so long it was the Suzanne Shaw brand that I was building. I've just now kind of transferred it into the
it's transferable skills, isn't it? And like you say, it won't ever leave you, and there may well be those opportunities when you choose, when you decide. I think that's the big factor, is you're the one that's chosen to pursue something different for the time that you are at the minute. You're the one that's got the power. You're the one that's gone, actually, this is where I want to put my focus, because this isn't serving me. It's not serving me in a healthy capacity. So actually, like you were saying about the singing, dancing and acting, there may well be a time where you're creating your own thing, and you're like, I'll sing for me, and I'll dance for me, and I'll act for me, and it'll be about doing it for the love of it, not necessarily to please other people, and to, you know, whilst they're counting the budget or whatever, and the sales and all of that stuff.
It all became more about just being constantly told you're not right, more than you were told you're perfect for this. So having that constantly, and I'd been there since being 3. My first audition, I was 4 years old when I started auditioning, and from that age to kind of 3 years ago, I was in that audition space, and more times out, you would lose it more times than you would win it. And, you know, and the wins that I got were great wins and amazing wins, and I loved it. But like I said, it was always seemed to be less about the job in itself and more about the politics around it. And in the end, I had it's time out for me at the moment, and that's okay. I'm okay with that.
Absolutely. And not like you were saying, you know, the road to success. It's a slower road than people might expect. One peak or 2 peaks or 3 peaks, you know, it doesn't necessarily equate to kind of the long career. For longevity, you do have to nurture yourself, and you do have to reflect, and you do have to step back and think, okay, where am I now, and evolve as a person. But that's what success looks like, you know, at the end of it, you know, when you hopefully, touch wood, when we've got long lives and things, and you look back and you go, oh, we did this and then this, and then there was a bit of that, and then there was a bit. That's the road to a successful life, isn't it?
And also, you know, my career, the career I had, you know, was a lifetime career, and it happened in such a short space of time. I've been the pop star, I've been a soap star, I've been a musical theatre star, I've been a presenter, you know, I've done all of the things that was on my bucket list, played the parts, you know, there's no bigger part than Roxy Hart in the West End, and to have played that at 28, you know, I've ticked all of these major things off that I'd always dreamed of doing. And so there was a point where I was like, what next? What next? What's going to fill me with just great passion and purpose? And I'd lost it. And so I've had to come away to potentially find that again. And I'm sure at one point there'll be a role that I'll be desperate to do. And there are roles that I'd love to do, but, you know, it is where it is today. And today I'm just so passionate about wellness, about running, about documentary making, about speaking, and about just helping people feel motivated through wellbeing.
And I think that really comes across, though, Suzanne. It comes across so much. And like with everything that you do, it's so truthful and authentic. And you can see it, like I said at the start, your eyes are brimming, you look so energised and, you know, just happy. And that's the biggest thing. I think that's the biggest factor with anything. If you could, you know, speak to young Suzanne, really? You know, and have a chat with her, what would be some words of wisdom that you would pass on to her?
I probably have quite a few. I think slow down. Slow down, which is ironic with all the running that I do. Slow down. Everything will always be okay. It will. Even at the darkest of times, when you feel like you can't get out of the fog, it will clear and it will be okay. And just have fun. Don't take life too seriously.
Oh, Suzanne, what an absolute joy.
Thank you.
Honestly,
this is great. I could talk for hours.
I know. I was like, oh my gosh, well, we need to have a thing. But honestly, thank you so much for your time. It's been wonderful. And it's been so lovely to catch up with you in this phase of your life and kind of go on this journey with you as well and see how it's evolved. And, you know, from the last time that I saw you when we chatted and now you're back here, and to see the success of the Happy Health Club and everything that you're doing, and the fact that I remember when you said to me, I'm not really much of a runner, and then you've done 4 ultra marathons in 4 days, you know. What an incredible success that is.
Thank you. And you know what? Right back at you. You know, you keep me motivated seeing what you're doing. And, you know, you're an absolute inspiration to be somebody showing that it all can be done and you can juggle it all and do it well. No, but honestly, I think it's brilliant what you've done.
Oh, thank you so very much. Oh, and that's it, guys. We have run out of time, and this was it. This was our last episode of this season. Honest to God, I know I've just said it at the beginning, but I cannot believe where these seasons seasons go. But thank you to our gorgeous guest, Suzanne. Wasn't she the most perfect final guest for this season? You can catch up with Suzanne over on Instagram at Susie_Shaw. And you can also visit the Happy Health Club, www.happyhealthclub.com. So go over there and find everything out that you want to, all about everything that Suzanne's doing over there with the community. Please do go and visit those guys. You can also visit our website, www.capsule.co.uk, for more wellbeing, fashion and beauty. And you can also visit our podcast page, In Conversation, and subscribe to any of our podcast channels and YouTube. Do keep up with us. Leave us rates, leave us reviews. Tell me anything that you want to tell me whilst we are off air. We are over at Official Capsule on Instagram. As I said, I will not be back next week because we are now going on our summer break. But I just want to say a massive thank you to all of our wonderful guests this series. You've been absolutely fantastic. And a huge thank you to our production team at Distorted. Thank you to Alex, to Becky and to Sian, who have been bringing you these episodes every single week. So thank you so much to those guys. But mostly, thank you to you for tuning in. I hope you've enjoyed this season. So all that's left for us to say today as we go on our summer break is goodbye. So it's goodbye from Suzanne.
Thank you.
And goodbye from me.